Alright, so this one is how to attempt your paper. How exactly are you supposed to be attempting your paper on the exam date? Be very attentive. It's very important that you understand this. Firstly, I'm hoping that you guys will be giving a mock test before the exam, so that you know whatever mistakes you are going to be making on the exam day, we don't want you to do that. So make all the mistakes, make all the, you know, get cleared of all the confusions that you have in the mock test. So video students, D2H students, please give the mock test at home. It's the institute's paper. Other than that, even when you're giving the mock test, so how are you supposed to be attempting? How do you score the max out of it? So firstly, you have 4 hours. You have 100 questions. All the rough work is supposed to be done on the question paper itself. When you're reading the question, I'm hoping you are underlining everything and just, you know, writing the notations and all. You're supposed to be doing all the rough work on your question paper. So if I see a sigma, I write sigma. The moment I see all the notations on the question, immediately the formula strikes. And I don't have to continuously again and again read the question, because all the data is pointed over there. It will actually save time rather than consuming more time. So it's going to be more time saving over here. If you have a very big question, in that case you're supposed to be reading the last line of the question first and then the remaining question. Because what happens is you know exactly what you're supposed to be finding out and you will be filtering out the data accordingly. So you read the last line of the question in case the question is a little longer. On a per question basis, you've got approximately 240, so 2.4 minutes per question. You have approximately 2.4 minutes per question. So reading speed has to be good. There are questions which is going to be a little longer in length. So please make sure you're reading the last line of the question first and then the remaining question. It will help. When you're looking at the questions, try not to very hastily mark one answer, try to eliminate the other options as well. You will not be able to do so when you have numerical questions, but in case of non-numerical questions, you need to prove that the other 3 statements are wrong and the one you're marking is correct. That will improve on your accuracy. But again, we need to be taking the time constraint into consideration. So that needs to be there. When you're attempting the paper, try to attempt the paper in order and not just, you know, panic about it and go just, you know, left and right with the paper. Because anyways, you don't have the questions on a subject-wise basis, it's going to be jumbled up. So makes no sense trying to start from somewhere in between. The next thing is when you're starting with the first question. Question 1, I didn't understand. 2, I didn't understand. 10, I didn't understand. So first 10, 12, 15 questions, if you're not understanding, do not panic. Because what happens is, this happens a lot of times, because when you're attempting the paper, for the first 10-15 questions, you're panicking, you're reading the questions a little too fast because you're like, time bachana hai, I need to save time. You're not getting into the flow of the questions, and it is also possible that the questions are very difficult and you're not being able to crack it. You will get into the flow. So if you panic and you give up at that point of time, it creates a big problem. What you need to do is you need to consistently keep going. You need to slow down a little bit, attempt the smaller size question because it becomes relatively easier to attempt those. Maybe do a few numerical ones first. So you need to start getting into the flow, the mode of the paper. You need to do that. Even if the first 20 questions I can't answer, you are not going to give up. You're not going to be panicking about it. It happens. It does happen. I'm being very honest about it. You will get into the flow of the question, you will start cracking. When you're looking at 100 questions in the exam, you will not have 100 questions of a over the top level of questions. The questions are going to be a mix of questions. You will have 20, 30, maybe 20, 15 to 20 easy questions. You will have 20, 30 good standard questions. You will have 20, 25 very, very good standard questions. You will have 10, 15 good difficult questions, doable difficult questions. You will have 5, 7 questions which seems to be absolutely out of the world and you're not being able to attempt. So even out of 100 questions, if you don't know 2 or 3 questions, it's okay. You need to attempt the remaining 97 in the best possible manner. You're not supposed to be panicking. When you're going through the questions, you will have your OMR sheet. Do not mark your OMR sheet at the end. Do the OMR sheet parallelly. It's a very, very bad idea to do the OMR sheet at the end. There is more likeliness that you are going to be making a lot of mistakes. So don't do that. Don't do that. When you're attempting the paper, suppose question number 9 you started off with. You attempted 9. So circle that question 9 in the OMR sheet. You attempted question 10. Now you're not sure about the question. How are you supposed to be attempting the question? Quite a few things. Remember, it will be very helpful for you. So I have question number 10, question number 11, question number 12. If I've attempted the question 10, I know that the answer is correct. I will circle the OMR sheet option. I'll do that. If I am not sure, if I'm like a little iffy about the question and I want to get back to the question and again revise this question, you put a single tick. If you are a little more unsure of the question, you put a double tick. What happens is you will not have the time to revise all the 100 questions after the paper is over. So once the paper is complete, All the undone questions is what you will do first, where you had not marked in the OMR sheet. So all the incomplete questions you will be completing first. So you go one round with the whole paper. There are times where you might have completed only 50-60 questions in the first round. Then in the next round, you'll complete the remaining 40. There you'll have to complete it. You don't have an alternative. You will complete the question paper. Once the question paper is over, then you will have to revise. You will revise the double tick questions first, then the remaining single tick questions next, and then you will not have time left, because you will not, if you see I have 100 questions to revise in half an hour, you will feel bored, you will not revise any. So the best idea is when you are attempting the questions, do a single tick or a double tick. Double tick I will revise first, then if I have time left, I will do the single tick questions. Now, if I have, suppose, not attempted a question, I have not marked in the OMR sheet a particular question, and suppose 11 has options A, B, C and D. If I have eliminated option B and option D, make sure you're cancelling off B and D in the question paper, so that again when you're revisiting the question afterwards, you don't have to talk about B and C, you just need to look into A and C. You don't have to look into B and D. So if you have eliminated an option while doing the question, but you are not able to choose between A and C, at least make sure you're crossing off B and D when you need to move forward, because otherwise the hard work that you've done with B and D, that will be of no relevance. Suppose I'm left with 20 seconds in the exam paper and this question is left. At least I know that I have to mark something A and C, there's a 50% probability over there, right? So do that. Now say for example in this question A, B, C and D, I have to find out, let's say A plus B plus C plus D is the answer. I have found out A and C. Now what happens, a lot of rough work gets lost. Suppose I've done A and C, so A is equal to this much, C is equal to this much, just circle those two values, so that when I revisit the question, I just need to do the calculation for B and D and mark the correct answer. Suppose one of the answers is equal to A plus B plus C plus D is the answer. So if I've done the calculation of A plus C, A and C, there is too much of rough work in the paper. So just circle those two which you're supposed to be using again when you revisit the question, so that at least you don't have to work hard again on that one. So these small things are very, very important. I know I'm being very childish, I'm putting in instructions in a very, very small, minute manner, but this is going to save time. Even if because of this you land up doing 2 questions right, I'm very happy. I think it's worth it. Are you understanding? You're supposed to be doing these kind of things. So incorrect options should be eliminated. Double ticking. So when I'm doing the question paper, I will keep on going ahead with the paper. I will keep on marking it parallelly in the OMR sheet. In case of any missed out questions, after the paper is over, I need to do all the incomplete questions first. Then I need to revise the double tick questions. Then I need to revise the single tick questions. And the incomplete question, whatever working, whatever part you've completed, you need to make sure that it is reflecting on the paper. Also what you can do, suppose I have gone through A, B, C, D, D and D is pakka out. I'm confused that it is probably A or C, but I think it's more likely to be A. In that case, in the question paper, tick A. Because what happens is if I have got 5 seconds left at the end, I'll immediately mark A. That was a more likely answer. When I was solving the question, I was thinking it's A, but I'm not sure. So mark it in the question paper, come back to it. If you have time, solve it. If you don't have time, mark A in the exam paper. Are we good till here, everyone? Understanding this bit? Make sure you're reaching the exam hall on time. You have your admit card, you have your ID proof, you're carrying your water, etc. If possible, carry a little bit of food and all. You don't have 2 papers, so I know that is not important, but just in case before the exam, if you're feeling a little hungry or something like that, you can do that. If you're giving the exam in a summer month, in that case, please carry a little bit of juices or something. It actually helps. It actually does help. And there are people who get very stressed out and they start panicking before the exam. Have a chocolate before the exam, it actually helps. Scientific again, have a chocolate before the exam. Complete a full bar, it's okay. But have a chocolate before the exam, it helps. And if you have any problem with respect to, it is a very normal problem nowadays. A lot of people panic a little bit. Have a nimbu pani, have a lemon water, have a salt, sugar lemon water, have a shikanji. That helps. That helps quite a lot. Carry it with yourself. It's okay. With respect to the other things, again, you're getting up on time on a regular basis so that you're okay with the body clock is as per your exam time. You cannot be sleepy in the morning. It is going to be very exhausting when you're giving the exam, so you have to have that kind of energy. For those who don't like to eat early in the morning, you have to eat early in the morning. You don't have an alternative. You're supposed to be eating at 6:30 or 7 when you're leaving for class. Have something light, but have, and your stomach should be full. You will be doing the exam from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock. It's very important. I don't want you guys to be wasting time in the exam hall. At times the AC gets very chill, so take a leak before the exam. It is important. You're not supposed to be wasting 5 minutes during the exam. So make sure you're visiting the washroom before the exam, just before the exam. So there are very small instructions, but make sure you're taking care of those things. Exam, you might not get that kind of sleep just before the exam day. So a glass of milk with honey helps. So take that if you're not being able to sleep. Go off to sleep 2 hours early. Lie in the bed, don't get up, don't open your book. If you're lying in the bed for 2 hours and you're not being able to sleep, it's fine. Keep lying in the bed. Right? So these things, I know it's very, very simple things, but then again, we have to crack the exam at any cost. Right? Just let me check. There are points that I've missed out. The questions, okay, the order of questions I told you, just keep on going ahead with it. And then again, a lot of people, again, they have a problem that, the order is not very good. I'm not being able to do any questions, or they become a little superstitious. Start from number 21, start from number 31, whatever you want, you start from somewhere in between. If you want to leave the first 20 questions and start from 21, do the paper from 21, then get back to question number 1. The order, the difficulty level is going to be a mix of questions, so I've told you that. Timing, with respect to the timing, you have to manage your timing. So every time you know that you have 8 half-an-hour chunks, you have 12 and a half questions to complete in every half an hour. So when you're doing the questions, you'll be skipping out a lot of questions as well. So every time it's not continuously possible to keep on counting the OMR sheets that you've circled. But on an average, you should have an idea that I'm completing at least 14-15 questions on a half-an-hour basis. So after you are done with 1 hour's paper, you need to understand that 25 to 30 questions should have been completed. 30 questions should have been marked, because you're supposed to be revising, you're supposed to be doing incomplete questions. So 30 questions should be completed on a 1 hour basis. So that 90 questions in 3 hours, you have only 10 questions and revision to complete in the last hour. You should be ideally having a half-an-hour kind of a gap at the end. If not, a 20-minute or 15-minute would be there. The paper is a little lengthy. Although you might feel that you have only 100 MCQs to do in 4 hours long time period, and you are habituated to giving 3-hour examinations. So please understand that 4 hours, the last hour is going to be very important. Don't give up, don't feel irritated, don't feel exhausted, and don't just, that I can't do anything and I'm done, my brain is not working. Take a deep breath, take 30 seconds, close your eyes, take 30 seconds, and again get back to the paper. It is a 4-hour paper. It is very mentally exhausting. It is mentally extremely exhausting. It is a 4-hour paper. Take half a minute, close your eyes, and again get back to the paper. You can't be irritated while you're attempting the paper. You'll end up marking all the wrong options. You cannot dare to be irritated. And it's a way in which you tell your brain, don't be irritated, shut up, keep quiet, calm down, again start. The way you will train your brain, your body will be reacting that way. It is absolutely on your mindset. Most of the stuff is about your mindset. With respect to timing, again, you are not going to be allowed to wear watches in the exam. There will be a clock in the exam hall. I've heard complaints at times from students that the clock is very small and you cannot see. Don't feel irritated to ask the invigilator what is the time right now, because you need to know what time frame has gone by. So every half an hour, 1 hour, if you're asking a time, it's fine. Or tell the invigilator from the very beginning, in case the moment you enter the hall, if you see the clock is small, ma'am, the clock is small, we cannot see it, so can you arrange another one immediately? Second, when the invigilator is there, ma'am, can you give us a half-an-hour reminder in case the clock is not there? Otherwise, they will not give you half-an-hour reminder. They might give you a 1 hour reminder. So in case the clock is not very visible, ask them, ma'am, could you please give a half-an-hour reminder, because we are not even allowed to wear a watch or something. For a few students, I've suggested, because I've seen the centers don't have a big clock, take a clock in your bag if you want. It doesn't matter. Ask them to put it on a desk. You don't have a clock, I've got it. All that matters is cracking the exam. That is all that matters. I don't care. Exam crack hona chahiye. Double tick and all I've told you. Acha, there are things that people do. The exam is over, you've given out your paper, and you just turn to your friend and ask, how was your paper? And the student got caught. He was not even cheating, but then he was questioned because the other student had not submitted his paper yet. So don't open your mouth, not even to ask how was your paper. Don't do that. Or was it difficult? Was it easy? Best of luck, whatever it is. Do that before the exam, outside the exam room. Don't talk in the exam, because they're not going to be telling you anything. They are going to be mailing the institute directly. So don't do that. Belongings and all is fine. You won't have a problem because mostly you can keep the bags inside the classroom or just outside the classroom, right? In case there are CFA, for the CFA exam, they generally have to have another room wherein, you know, you have to submit the bags and all. So there I suggest 5-7 students to have at least one car between them, so that you can keep the bag in your car, but you won't have any problem of that sort. Pencils and all will be given. In case you've marked a wrong answer, in that case you can circle. You need to circle two answers, like suppose A and C both, and then you need to write the final answer in a space provided. So that is how you attempt in the GAP paper. Suppose I've circled A and now I think it's C, you will circle C, you will not erase A, and you'll write C against it, the correct answer against it, your final answer against it. Then okay, eliminating jumbled up, wrong answer I've told you. Apply common sense. There will be a lot of questions which you might not be familiar with, or you might not be able to attempt it. At least try to convert the question in your own language and interpret what they are saying. Ultimately it's English, it's common sense. So a lot of questions, even if you're not being able to understand the question, you will be able to apply some common sense. So try to attempt, don't try to just give up that I don't understand. Try to comprehend what they're asking, because ultimately it's just English. Eliminating options works. Eliminating options works very well. So try to eliminate a couple of options. It will make your work easy. It is very, very important. Think. One more thing is that is a problem with the part 1 and part 2 more so it is a problem with part 2. Your syllabus, your subjects are jumbled up, your questions are jumbled up. So when you're looking at a question, try to associate that this was with respect to which LOS, which chapter. You will be able to strike, it will click as to what should be the approach of the question. So try to connect, ye kahan tha, where did I read this, where was this, what content is it related to. It will help in answering the question, which chapter. There could be a few questions which could be of an item set kind. So now what do you mean by an item set kind? You might be having a very big passage and you might be having 2 questions based on that whole data. Generally those kind of questions are very, very rare, but then again 4 to 6 questions is possible. You might have a passage, and on the passage you might have 2 big size questions. The size of the question could be high. You just need to do your MCQ, but then the time to take to read and all is very, very important. And it will be the case wherein 5-7 lines of nonsense is given. They are giving background data which is absolutely worthless. So don't get worried if there is redundant information given. Don't get why are they talking about this. Don't worry too much about redundant information. The questions will be jumbled up, so don't try to attempt that let me filter out all the quants question, let me filter out all this subject question. Don't do all that rubbish. And don't, even when you're attempting the question, don't try to count how many quants question I've done, how many this question I've done. It's going to be a waste of time. I've seen students doing that, so don't do that. Eliminating options, which chapter? Alright, formulas and all, I'm hoping you must have revised on the previous date. Calculators, make sure your calculator memory is clear and you are carrying your calculator in the exams. In case you have a spare calculator, you have a friend who's not giving the exam, or a friend from another course who's just using the same financial calculator, borrow the extra calculator, keep it in your bag for safety. Or even if even if 5 to 10 people know that okay, this guy is carrying an extra calculator, that is also sufficient. Everybody will not be able to get an extra calculator, but just if you know that there are 20 people and I know that there is one person who has a calculator, so at least in case there is a problem, there is some way out. So just have that in mind. Otherwise it's not important. Generally nothing happens to your calculator. Don't forget to sign on your exam paper. So whatever signatures required, don't forget to sign. In case you're signing, in case you've forgotten to put a signature on the paper, if the invigilator has told you pens down means pens down, when he comes to your desk, then question the invigilator, ma'am, I forgot to sign, can I please put my signature? Do not sign, because even if you're signing it after the bell has gone, you will not be able, the person will be thinking that you're writing after your time is up. So if you've forgotten to put a signature, forgotten to put your roll number or anything, just pens down. When the invigilator comes to your desk, ma'am, I have forgotten to do this, please give me a minute, I'll just put my signature, can I do it in front of you? And do that. They'll allow you. That will not be a problem. So if you've forgotten to sign,